Not too long ago, the country and the region experienced the worst drought in 40 years, which is why climate early warning systems are very important. There is a center that is right here, headquartered here, but serving the region, established and founded in 1989. It is the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center. So today we're going to be speaking here on Power Talk about the work of this center, its importance in disaster preparedness for governments and heads of state. And we're here with the Regional Program Manager in charge of Disaster Risk Management at the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center, Dr. Ahmed Amdihoun. Thank you so much for making time for us on Power Talk.
Thank you.
I'd like to first get an understanding of this center. What do you do at the Climate Prediction and Application Center for IGAD?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. The IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center is a specialized institution of IGAD. IGAD is an intergovernmental body with 8 member countries. It is also a designated, regional climate center, RCC, by the World Meteorological Organization. The center primarily provides climate services, but also applications such as disaster risk management. Yeah.
So in all of this time, you've seen quite a bit, because from 1989 to date, gathering data and making that available to the stakeholders?
Exactly. So when the center started as a drought monitoring center, which evolved into one of the best regional centers in climate services. Along this line, we have developed quite a number of tools, including the East African Hazard Watch, which is publicly available for countries, humanitarian agencies and development partners to access and make decisions based on a near real-time monitoring of major hazards such as droughts and floods.
Yeah. Beyond real-time monitoring, you're also providing early warning systems. So tell us about what an early warning system entails. There's information and data that you generate there. What information are you generating? What do you do with the information, and who do you disseminate it to?
Yeah, thank you. I think early warning systems in general are early detection and timely dissemination of information. Very life-saving information that protects also livelihoods. These are actually very fundamental and often, pegged around 4 key pillars. The first being risk knowledge, understanding exposure, vulnerability, and so on. The second one is the detection part, where ICPAC is actually leading as a regional entity, as a regional body. And the third one is dissemination and communication. Okay, once you generate the information, it has to be reaching the last mile in as much as possible. That's the most important part. Yeah. And the fourth is actually how you now inform preparedness. Preparedness in the region, at country level, at national, subnational, local level.
All right.
Yeah.
So that information now assists with disaster preparedness, right?
Exactly.
So knowing what's to come, particularly with climatic conditions, and then doing something about it. So
exactly.
How has the information from the center been used before? Perhaps you could just give us an example of how disaster preparedness is assisted by the information and the early warning system.
Exactly. So as we release now the real-time monitoring and also forecasting of the situation in the region, in the entire Eastern Africa region, we also work closely with national disaster risk management authorities, for example. Whenever we detect some exceptional phenomena, we relate that information to countries, and they are there actually to take actions. The forecast we issued just today is also actually meant to inform the national preparedness plans. So countries will go from here and work on their national preparedness plans. That's exactly the ultimate goal. Not only the plan, the action bits also have to follow.
Right.
Yeah.
And the funds that would be needed.
Exactly. The financing is also very, very important.
Right.
Very, very important, yeah.
And so you talked about the forecast. So, we're going into, at least in Kenya, the short rain season. That's October to December of this year.
Yeah.
So give us the overall forecast for this season that is coming. For the Horn of Africa, wider Eastern Africa, and then we can talk about Kenya.
Exactly.
So
thank you. So what we have just issued is a seasonal forecast for October to December season. The forecasts are actually, these seasons are, by the way, a very important short rains, particularly for the regions in the equator. So that includes southern Ethiopia, eastern parts of Kenya, parts of Somalia, and so on. So the forecasts are actually indicating that there is an increased chance of drier than usual conditions in the region, which is very important now to take note. in terms of temperature as well, there is warmer. The forecast indicates that warmer than usual conditions for eastern part of the region again. This actually calls for immediate action as we speak. They really call for immediate action. But I want to give a context as well, Yvonne.
Yes.
As we look at this regional forecast, Regional Climate Outlook Forum, we should be very careful not to just depend on this information as we are going to update. For example, for September, we are going to update this information, October, November. So as the season progresses, we are also providing updating to that one.
Okay.
Plus, the national governments, especially the national Met departments, are going to issue as well a seasonal forecast, which are also very important to inform national and local level actions.
So let's talk a little bit about the rain patterns, because you say we should expect lower than rainfall for the region. Let's talk about that even as we look at a map, and maybe you can explain to us what this is.
Yes, exactly. So this map that you see maybe indicates actually an increasing likelihood. The one you see in orange, in yellow, and so on, are areas actually that are going to receive a decreasing trend of rainfall from this particular forecast. It's a likelihood, it's a probability.
Right.
But these areas actually need to be closely monitored as the season evolves.
Okay, and these are, Kenya, Ethiopia,
southern
Somalia?
Ethiopia, southeastern Ethiopia,
right.
Eastern part of Kenya, much of Somalia, and part of also Tanzania, northern and central part of Tanzania. These are areas actually that are expected to have suppressed rainfall.
Suppressed rainfall. Yeah. And so what do you do when, but before we get there, I want us to also take a look at the temperature map, because you said it'll be warmer than usual. So you can explain that to us, and then we can talk about both of them and the effects that they'd have. So it's, okay, so I imagine the orange is the warmer regions.
The red ones are the warmer regions now. The eastern side of the region actually is forecasted to be warmer than the average condition for those regions. So I think in that areas actually we're continually monitoring the situation and also updating, in addition to the seasonal one, the monthly forecasts are going to be released. The national Met departments are also going to release the daily and weekly forecasts. I think those are very important information to inform our actions, particularly.
Right.
Yes.
So it looks like these regions will have lower than expected rainfall and higher than usual temperatures. So what does this outlook mean for food security, for livestock rearing and development? What are the likely effects of a forecast such as this one?
So I think over the last 2 days, yesterday and today, I think the member states have been convening from 6 sectors, including the ones you mentioned. So they're deliberating actually what could be the possible impacts of this situation of reduced rainfall in some areas and also increasing warmer than average temperatures. So the key, for example, in terms of agriculture, what we're saying is in these areas, I think the preparedness plans need to inform both farming communities for crop growing areas as well as pastoral areas in terms of water and feed availability. So they need to take this into consideration when they are planning actually their season.
Okay. What other sectors could it possibly?
I think the 6 most important sectors that we as ICPAC are working with are, number 1 is a disaster risk management sector.
Right.
The second one is agriculture and food security. The third one is water and energy. The fourth one is conflict. The fifth one is, by the way, media is also part of it. Those are the main ones actually that we're dealing with.
Because it's what we were talking about a little earlier. This is also a matter of security, because when you have reduced resources and communities that have to essentially fight or share, scarce resources, then this also has a security component attached to it.
Definitely, that's exactly the point. Now, whenever there is reduced rainfall, usually water and pasture availability becomes an issue of contention now. So communities usually move in search of water and pasture. That definitely creates conflicts. So that's why actually one sector is dealing with the climate security and peace nexus also. How this is translating into the security issue in the region.
Yes, and that's an important component to always remember. Now, what's interesting, Dr. Ahmed, is this information is publicly available, right?
Definitely.
There is a portal.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Actually,
so who has access to this portal, and what sort of information do you put out there?
Exactly. Now, from this exercise with all member countries, 11 of them, what is really important is we're going to generate advisories for decision makers. In the coming 1 to 3 days, I think it's going to come out, and it will be publicly available.
Okay.
In addition, the portal you mentioned, Yvonne, is what we call the East African Hazard Watch. So that one is basically a multi-hazard platform where any interested individuals or institutions can go and see the near real-time information there, including our recent forecast, the one we have just shown our audience.
Right.
The informations are going to be up and running there. So they can, it's very interactive, They can zoom into your locality, see what is the forecast,
Yeah, and you say this is information that you update on a more regular basis.
Exactly.
Because this is an overall forecast for what happens until the end of the year, but you continue to update that as well.
Exactly, monthly, and also as the season progresses, we update this seasonal forecast as well.
Okay, and it's important to state, I think, that, tracking, forecasting, and monitoring weather patterns is not an exact science. So it's something, I guess, that you have to keep
improving
exactly. and taking a look at it. Yeah. From the start, Africa and the region has seen quite some serious devastating effects of drought, famine. We all remember 1984, and this center now being there since 1989. What are some of the trends that you've seen in terms of our preparedness and our response mechanisms, particularly now that we're having even more information timely that is being disseminated at the right time? How far have we come, Dr. Ahmed?
Exactly. Thank you very much, Yvonne. I think we have come long distances, but really there is an encouraging also progress in terms of forecasting. For example, the recent forecasts ICPAC is providing is what we call an objective forecast, which is basically providing informations which are more accurate relatively in terms of their skills. They are better compared to some years back. So these informations, recently we are talking about how AI and machine learning also improves forecast. We have a great collaboration with global centers. So this is how actually we are trying to improve the forecast. As we do that, the preparedness and the action part also is evolving. For example, the drought of 1984, we are talking of actually some million plus lives perished. How about the recent drought, for example, of 5 consecutive failed seasons?
Yes.
I think the number is almost, there's no, so that is, I think, the transition that we can be proud of as a region coming forward, but there's a lot also to be done in terms of translating.
What that is as we close,
Exactly. So that's basically translating early warnings, this information available, to early action. That is actually the most important one. And IGAD, in fact, is spearheading the development of, for example, a roadmap for anticipatory actions. Even what anticipatory actions means is basically a predefined thresholds. When something reaches here, you take action. So predefined action. Predefined thresholds, pre-identified actions, and pre-arranged finance. So a 3-pillar approach. I'm happy also to report that Kenya just launched last week their national anticipatory action roadmap. So that is, I think, what we need to be focusing now, how this readily available information, warning informations can be translated into early action so that they can save lives, protect livelihoods, and also reduce the losses and damages due to these extremes.
That's right. Thank you so much for this information. Now you have it. We have a regional, local overview of the weather patterns to expect over the next rainy season, that is to the end of the year. And like Dr. Ahmed Amdihoun says, it is early warning that should lead to early action. We've come a long way, but we continue to do more. Kenya having set up its own threshold for action on the same. Thank you very much for the work that you do and for enlightening us on what's to come. And hopefully this is information that we can all use. You can go to that portal. It is the East African Hazard Watch. That's right. And that information is publicly available to anyone and all stakeholders. That's Dr. Ahmed Amdihoun, who's the Regional Program Manager for Disaster Risk Management at the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center here on Power Talk tonight. Thanks.